Welcome to another episode of The Digital Guru with your digital guru, Shiva. Digital Guru, we look at shedding light on your digital world. And we look at shedding light on digital issues that affect your homes, your businesses, as well as schools. And in today's episode, here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's a time when the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are very patriotic. You see a lot of red, black, and white everywhere. And so at this point in time, as we celebrate between independence and republic, it got me thinking, if three domains walk into a bar, how would we know which domain is the Trini? And so with that thought in mind, ladies and gentlemen, today we have the privilege of hosting two titans of the digital world, the pioneers behind Trinidad and Tobago's online identity. First, we have Dr. Patrick Hosein, a man with not one, not two, but 5 degrees, including a PhD in electrical engineering and computer science from MIT. With 41 granted patents and careers at large international corporations, Dr. Hosein is now the CEO of TTNIC and a professor at the University of West Indies. Joining with him is Mr. George Gobin, a veteran with 42 years in the IT industry. From leading Microsoft's operations in the Caribbean to serving as the Group Chief Technology and Information Officer at SM Jalil, George has been at the forefront of digital transformation in the region. He is a recipient of the Caribbean's Luminary Award and listed in the Who's Who of America for dedication to information and technology. Together, these gentlemen have been managing Trinidad and Tobago's digital presence for over 3 decades. Get ready for a fascinating dive into the world of domain names, digital identity, and the future of Trini Pride Online. So welcome.
Thank you for having us.
So as we said today, we're going to discuss TTNIC and that whole idea of being Trini, you know? Mm-hmm. So which one of you is Nick? George and Patrick, you know? So first of all, for viewers who may not know or never heard the term TTNIC, what does TTNIC stand for?
I'll let George take that.
Well, Trinidad, thank you very much for having us on your program today, Shiva. The TTNIC is really an organization that the abbreviation is for the Trinidad and Tobago Network Information Center. So it's really...
So it's not a person, Nick?
It's not a person.
Oh, it's not Nicholas.
We tried to have a person called Nick, but we just couldn't find one at the time.
Okay. Right.
So we settled on TTNIC, and the name says exactly what we do.
Right.
Which is the network that we talk about and controlling access to the internet. Okay. Most of that is done by country through something called CCTLD, which is a country code domain. And we are the organization that manages the .tt domain for Trinidad and Tobago. So any domain that ends in .tt, we are the organization that we will come to register. And we want to be very clear, we are a registry. Right. We don't provide hosting services, especially only in some certain circumstances, which Patrick will talk about when we talk about schools. Right. But we register your domain for you. It's exactly like if you were going to register a company, you'd go to the company's registry and you would register your company. The TTNIC is simply that. To register your domain on the internet, you come to us to register the domain, and that's the service that we provide. So, the major service.
So Patrick, to bring you in on this, knowing that you are the founder of TTNIC, and you would have been involved with TTNIC for many years for yourself. So if at this point in time you had to give an elevator pitch to someone of what TTNIC is, what would you say?
So TTNIC is well, it stands for Trinidad and Tobago Network Information Center. So back in the 90s, that's the terminology they use for such registries, right? So, and as you mentioned, Nick, there is a Nick involved. My son is Nick, and he helps us out sometimes. But
was he born then?
He was a little boy then. But so .tt, you come to us, and let me explain this a little bit more detail, because I think some people get a little confused. So you want to come to us and you want to get shiva.com.tt.
Yes.
All right, you come to us, we would register that domain, shiva.com.tt, and you would provide us with something called name servers. Now, these are additional machines that you have to provide, which actually do all the translation from the names to different IP addresses. IP addresses is like the machine locations, like a phone number. So machines communicate with IP addresses, with numbers, not with domain names. But to do that mapping, to do that mapping, you need a machine to do the mapping. Right. We do not do that mapping for you. You come to us and we direct any request for your domain to one of those name servers. You now, on that name server, would introduce all the records you need for shiva.com.tt. So if you want mail, you would add something called an MX record, pointing shiva.com.tt to your mail server. Then if you want a website, you will have a record, etc. Now, but we do not do that. That's your responsibility, and it gives you full control of your domain. So if you want to change your website to a different server, you don't need to come to us. You have control of all that. So I just to make it clear, because some people a little bit confused about how it works.
So in terms of now that you have explained that, so other registries like, let's say, GoDaddy, how would you compare or contrast, or is similar or not with
It's quite simple. They provide a number of other services in addition to domain registration. So they will register a domain for you, but they will also host, and they will provide mail, and they'll provide.
But they won't be able to give you a .tt.
No. So it's a little bit complicated. There are certain things called registrars.
Right.
So some countries have these things called registrars, which give the ability for somebody to go to a registrar and register, .tt, for instance, and then it will tie in with our servers, and we would update, etc. So some are the things we do not support registrars, and the reason is this. I want to make it clear, because people again they want to know why things are a little bit slow, but because of this reason. If you want to register some politician name is bad.tt, right? And you go to a registrar, it will be approved, and that will be out there.
No checks or anything.
Right? And we don't want that to happen. So in order to avoid that, we make it clear that we have to approve the name before it actually goes
so you have checks and balances in place
so
to verify.
Absolutely.
So
the
GoDaddy
ownership of the
you could go to GoDaddy and get anything you want.com,
anything,
right? So we can't do that.
Yes, no. All right, understood.
And let me just add one point of clarification, please. Patrick said come to us, but you're really coming to us online.
Online.
We have been online 26 years now.
26 years.
That's even before people started thinking about what is this online.
So application, everything
filled in online.
26 years ago, we developed software to have everything online. So you fill in you apply online, you fill in the information. We automatically generate the invoice that goes out to you.
Via email.
Everything is done automatically because in those days we didn't have the time.
So you had automation 26 years ago.
Yeah.
So
the things we do.
All this automation now.
Yeah, the things we did back then. I think they could use some of that technology now.
Especially around the.
And this was manual. Well, not manual, but automated back in those days compared to now with the AI doing the automation.
Well, it's easier now. And there's actually software available now. To do it, but our software is designed specifically for our purposes. So it's
quite true.
Nice, right? So for those who don't know exactly what what a country code. You have been speaking a lot about country code and top-level domains. You could dive a little bit into that aspect.
Okay, so when the internet started in the old days, you had to, as I said, you have to map names.
We say the old days, but the internet itself is not
Well,
that
talking
old.
about
But I know what you're talking.
in the 70s,
Yeah.
all right? As I said before, computers communicate with numbers, with something called an IP address. And but humans, can't remember. Well, in the old days we had to remember phone numbers, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been similar to that. But phone numbers is limited. We're talking about IP addresses, thousands of them, millions of them now. So they developed a system to map names to IP addresses. And so they have a hierarchical process. At the top level, you have like .com, and then you would go down to google.com, etc. They did something similar for each country, and they assigned a 2-letter code to each country. And what they did is they assigned people, administrators for each of these countries. Some countries didn't have the expertise to do it, so they had outside help to do it, or they outsourced it. In our case, when they came to us, we said, look, we want to do it. We could do it. I had, my background is communication, so I said we could do it. And so that's why we took it over from
I guess the
earlier.
PhD from MIT helped.
It helped, yeah.
It helped a little bit.
So that's how we ended up doing it. But the whole purpose of the DNS is basically for you to be able to type in a name, and it goes to the correct machine, etc.
So I think that's very interesting, especially for the audience to know. When you say they came to us, what do you mean they came to us?
Okay, so
Trinidad as a country, or because of the loops, the networks you were in at the time.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of background.
The backstory is nice.
So when I came back to Trinidad in the early 90s, I went to UE, Electrical Engineering Department, and I was already familiar with using the internet in the US, and I wanted us to get access. UE didn't have access to the internet, and so I got involved in what was required to do it, and so the internet bodies knew who I was, and when it was time to allocate somebody to handle .tt, they came to me and they said, right. And the first, at least at the university, the first internet access we got was through a dial-up connection. So we had a dial-up connection from the engineering building to Puerto Rico.
Whoa.
And then I interconnected that to the UE. Well, the UE already had a LAN, right? But not internet. So I interconnected that to the LAN, and so students throughout the university could use this one, share this one dial-up connection.
Nice. So that's why when I introduced you all, that's what in my mind. So this story really brings it out. You all are really pioneers. You are pioneers in the area, So let's bring it the discussion back now to some of the benefits. So I'm in Trinidad. How could a TT domain benefit local entities? Rather than a generic domain like a .com or .net. What benefit would having a .tt be to them?
Sure. So maybe when you look back at some of the history, when people first started having to register domains because they wanted their businesses or family names to be registered, .com was most commonly. But .com is short for commercial.
Commercial, exactly.
So lots of people felt that whether you were registering an educational institution or whatever, .com was the best. And they went outside to it. With the coming on board of companies like TTNIC, and every country has its own registry body, we have now given you the facility to register the domain name locally. You still have access to all, as Patrick explained, IP addresses, DNS servers all over the place. So once we have and maintain communications to those servers, which we do through our cloud-based software, you really have the same access like anybody registering their domain in the States or whatever country they decide. But what was more important for us is this thing called IP for us means a different thing. We mean intellectual property also. If you have a brand name that you want to protect, as you know what happens on the internet, you want that brand name to follow your company or the email addresses you use, all those kinds of things. So for Trinidad companies who want an identity out there, it's perfect to have a .tt address to identify them as being a Trinidad Tobago. Now, of course, you'll have the companies who don't necessarily want to be say represented because they are global, and they have many islands, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But you can still register your address and point to whatever domain that you will. So you could have shiva.tt, but you're pointing it to shiva.com.
Right.
And therefore you maintain your .tt identity. Your advertising locally in the local market would say shiva.tt.
And you still have your...
But you're still pointing that way. So you're not having 2 and 3 websites.
Right.
You're just pointing to different sites, basically.
I think so, and that ties in beautifully into the theme that I have,
with
the whole being patriotic to our country and having that country pride.
Yes.
I think it's very important, that we have that if we serve our local, as you said, if you serve the local market as well as if you have an international, it doesn't matter. You have that local.
And one thing, as you mentioned, local, in terms of pricing, our prices are competitive with anybody else, right? And in fact, we charge local registrants half as much as foreign registrants.
Wow.
So foreign registrants kind of subsidize the local registrants. So we really want to push.
So hear that, guys? You want your local IT, you're getting half off of what you would pay anywhere else for your local branded domain, right? To show that Trini pride that we have as Trinis.
And Shiva, the fact is that what we see coming from outside of Trinidad and Tobago is lots of foreign companies registering locally domain names because they want to protect their brand. IP is very important to those companies.
So those are like, for example, global companies who want to protect the brand locally in each country?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you have the large companies all over the world. They have registered domains at .tt, and they don't necessarily use it. Some of them do locally, like the fast food chains and stuff, the big ones. They use local for their smartphone apps and all that kind of stuff. But it all goes back to one site at the end of the day. So what we are seeing in the industry is that people outside of Trinidad and Tobago are willing to protect their IP and their branding image more than people from within Trinidad who do. And which leads us into a separate rabbit hole.
Maybe it's another program.
Another program we could talk about that talks about how to. And when that's one of the major advantages we see in doing it locally. And if you've developed a website before and you have .com or .net or whatever it is that you have, we're not asking you to destroy that. We're saying point it. So that you keep the brand, your IP, and you have your website.
Which makes sense because you don't offer the hosting or anything.
No.
They already have that set up. They have that hosting and everything.
They
it's
do
just a matter of
themselves.
registering their domain that will point
that's correct.
Yes.
to, and it makes sense in the whole ecosystem of domains and that whole brand, that local identity and so on. So now we have mentioned it before, but if we could walk the audience, those listeners and viewers through, is it as easy as ordering a pizza? So in terms of steps, a 3-step system to order, a 5-step system, what are the actual steps to go?
So let me go through these steps. So you go online. First you search and see if your domain name is available. And so we have a search. You could put in Shiva.
This is that, what's the
or www.nic.tt, or you can just use nic.tt, nic.tt. But you go to that site, you do a search on the name you want, shiva.com.tt. If it's already taken, you'll see information about who has it, when it's we have limited information now because of GDPR. GDPR is data protection regulations in Europe, and we have to abide by that. But so you can see if it's taken already. But once you find a name that you want, you just fill out an online application form. you put in the information such as the name servers, etc., contact information. Typically, we ask for 3 contacts. One is the admin contact. That will be the person who administers the domain, request changes to the domain information, etc. Then there's a billing contact, the person we would contact for billing. And then there's a technical contact, right? The technical person. You could have a single individual for all 3, but you
so
could have
this is in initial registration.
Initial
captures all that data.
Small organizations have the same person.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
So you fill that out. It comes to us. We view it. Some of the processes we wouldn't talk about for security reasons, as you're a cybersecurity person. But we approve it, as soon as we get it. And the approval is basically looking at the domain name and ensuring it doesn't harm any individual or does any harm to the country's reputation, right? But once we do that, we approve it. Invoice is generated automatically. It goes out to the individual. Once they pay, and they could go ahead and pay immediately with credit card, for instance. Okay. All right, and once they do that,
as you mentioned, you had that set up from the very early days.
Once they do that, it's active immediately. All right, so there's no delay. But of course, if you're going to pay by check or cash, it takes a little bit longer. We have to wait until we get payment.
The verification that you spoke about before. So after the initial filling out of the form,
right,
you do all that verification before you.
Well, the form does a lot of the validation, right? It validates, it makes sure that the everything is correct. The format is correct.
So they have certain documents to upload or something.
No. All we need is, but because of security, certain things, like for instance, one issue we tend to have is people would copy and paste some of the information, like name server information. Now, when you do that, sometimes it copies hidden characters.
Right.
And we check for that because those hidden characters could cause problems, security problems. So, but anyway, we have all these validation checks, and the form comes to us, and we basically would check the domain name and make sure it's correct or not harmful, as I said. But we also do some other checks, like sometimes they would say, they would provide a Trinidad address to get the discount. But we flag that. We can check and see where.
As the foreign Trinis.
Well, so we flag it that the IP address is outside of Trinidad. Yeah. So we have software to check all that. Okay. And we give them a warning. We say, look, we'll approve it, but if we find out you're not physically here, then blah. Okay. And so once they get the invoice, they can pay by credit card or however. And by a click, the information. Well, in case of credit card, it's automatic, right? Yes. Once they pay the credit, it automatically updates all the information, and they are good to go. If it's cash or check, we put in the information, we click, and then it updates the user.
So it's good. I know we're heading in the direction of the online payments and so on.
Cashless.
But the cashless. But what I'm saying, I'm really glad you still have the option. Because we still have some Trinis with the mentality of to go and line up in the bank rather than to do the online banking kind of thing. So they may prefer to come and have So if they want to pay this cash, where do they go if they wanted to pay by cash? Office or something?
We have an office.
We have a registered office on Abercrombie Street, 84 Abercrombie Street.
84 Abercrombie Street.
And all that information on how to find us is on the website.
On the website, of course.
Gives you direction.
Well, at least there's the option for those who's still there.
It gives you driving directions how to get there.
Right.
But we probably have maybe one per week or one every 2 weeks in that form.
Well, I guess it's getting less now that everybody is
at the beginning it used to be a lot more. But
now there's I think the financial institutions are doing a lot to educate people about online banking as well.
Right.
So you may get more increasing amounts of bank transfers instead of these things.
The whole ACH thing has helped.
Definitely.
So, but we have all the different options. If you're foreign, you could use a wire transfer. You can pay by credit card. If you're local, use ACH, check, cash. So we are flexible in terms of payment.
So the other thing that I wanted to add to what Patrick said, one of the checks that we do up front, if somebody tries to register a big company name .pt,
Yes.
right? So fast food chain, big, we know it doesn't exist yet. But you at your home address here in Trinidad, you try to register that domain. We know you're trying, most likely you're trying to get somebody's intellectual, you're trying to get up somebody's brand, but register it a local.
That's smart thing to sell them.
Yeah. All of it. So
we
we're very careful about things like domain squatting. We have to protect people's IP as much as possible. So you can't register a global brand name. And we know they do have an office in Trinidad. Those kinds of things.
We have a bunch of rules and regulations. So if, for instance, you start providing porn on your site, we could take it down, right? So we state all that in our rules
in your
and
rules
regulations.
and regulations
So
as to what the domain could be associated with.
Because of that, we have very few problems like that. We don't have any problems with people doing stuff that
So
is
definitely
bad.
no porn.tt.
But for instance, sex.tt, we had to approve because you could use sex for educational
purpose. Okay.
But if they use it for other purposes,
more in the use rather than the
we
name.
could, yeah.
Okay, more in what they use it for.
Exactly.
Oh, no problem.
So that domain does exist right now.
Right.
But it is used for
Right.
sports news or something.
Okay, right. But I guess it could be an abbreviation for some.
That's another
something,
reason.
as a catchy phrase kind of thing.
Yeah,
Right. So I understand in that terms of branding and stuff. But so we mentioned half price for local entities or institutions, right? But from my perspective, being in an educational institutes, most of the time they don't have any money, right? So what specials do you have for educational institutes?
Okay, and we've been doing this since almost the beginning. All right. First of all, let me get the government, which is easy. We delegated gov.tt to the government for free.
Whoa.
So that's why they manage anything under gov.tt. We don't charge them. Similarly for mil.tt for military, that's delegated. Charity.tt we provide for free for charitable organizations. But coming to edu.tt, we have been offering that free to schools, any school from pre-care all the way up to tertiary.
You said the magic word.
What?
Free?
Free. And that has been available, as I said, since back in the 90s. In addition to providing the domain for free, we provide free hosting. All right, so you could sign up with us, get a domain name. We will provide hosting. Of course, we just provide a folder for you. It's up to you to populate that with content, etc. We're not going to provide content.
Right.
So we do that as well. Now, over the years, we figured that this should really be done by the Ministry of Education. It's not our responsibility. We've tried to pass it on, but they say, no, you're doing it, continue doing it. So we've been doing it since. So yeah, if you're a school and you don't have a presence on the web right now, you want to get a domain name, just go to www.edu.tt. You fill out an application form. It's a simple one. It's not as complicated as for .tt. We would receive it. We would request from you a letter from your principal stating that this individual...
Before we go forward, is it the same form?
No, it's a
separate form for educational institute.
Yeah, because...
It's a different website.
edu.tt. Yeah, www.edu. But it's much simpler because we don't need all the information you would need for a regular .tt.
Right, so these documents now?
So yeah, we request a letter from the principal stating that the individual who is applying is responsible for managing their domain. All right, and that has to be signed, stamped, and they email it to us. We don't use postal email.
What is it?
And once we get that letter, we activate the domain. Now, you could request hosting, and we would activate hosting for you. You would have provided credentials to get in. We do have security, so we only allow something called SSH, which is a secure connection, etc. So that's one option. The other option is you could go to Google or Microsoft. Most schools go to Google, and you could get free email. You could get Google Suites to set up your website. And Google has a lot of other free stuff for schools. So we advise schools to do that, because the interface to set up Google Suites, etc., is much better than what we provide. We just provide a simple upload facility, and you have to provide everything. We are not set up really to do that fancy hosted cPanel, etc. All right. So yes, a lot of schools do that. They get their so the email address you will get from Google is not a Gmail address. It's under your school domain name.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So
use that information.
Right. So then you could have
set up your MMX records with
Google. So you would have, if it's SAGS, it will be shiva@sags.edu.tt. So you'll have a SAGS email address, etc. So all that is possible. If you do want to host with us, that's an option. You could install WordPress or whatever.
Oh, you have that option.
Yeah, and set things up the way you want.
But this is for schools only.
For schools, yeah.
Right.
Any school from, as I said, from pre-K or nursery school all the way up. So yeah, now there's a difference. If it's a government-sponsored school, in most public schools, then they get the free domain, free hosting. But if it's a private school, they get a free domain but not free hosting.
Okay.
All right. So in that case, they have to provide their own hosting.
So in addition to that, also, we shouldn't have any schools in Trinidad and Tobago going to places like GoDaddy or Cloudflare, whatever they think to register .tt.
Definitely.
It's not free.
I don't think they do that.
Well, no, they won't be able to do .tt.
I don't think they do EDUs as well. Do they?
No, I don't think they do.
I don't think so.
No, EDUs, yes.
Yeah, it's very specific to Trinidad.
Very specific.
So it shouldn't have anybody waiting in line to do anything. It's available. It has been available for 26 years now. To register .tt.
And this is where I could testify to. I mean,
please.
I could give that testimony to you, because when COVID happened, everybody was in disarray.
It's called the
panic, But luckily for me, we had common contacts that we linked up back then,
Right.
And I was able to, and as you said, it was a smooth, quick, easy fix to get my .edu.tt for my school. And so we used it. I mean, without asking you, I'm telling you how we use it to increase the security for our school. Because at that time, you had a set of parents' Gmails and all these different emails from everywhere. We couldn't verify who these people were logging into the classes or anything. So we used the .edu.tt domain to give all our students their personal identification. So when that student logs in with that, we know that is the student's credentials that they are logging into, and it's at least either the student or the parent using that credential to log in. So we used it from a security perspective. Also, we used it for branding. I mean, and for school pride. You have your school name .edu.tt, you feel good, rather than having it .gmail or .hotmail or .whatever, it felt good. So those are the two main things that we used it for. Do you have any other additional benefits to educational institutes for getting this edu.tt?
Well, before I leave that point, Shiva, your email address for your school should be yours for life. It should be yours for life. Because most schools tend to want to contact their students, and they always keep people have moved addresses, whatever it is. Your email address should be pushed by your school fee. If you want you to buy a brick for building that we are putting up, we will know we know we will find you at this email address. So for schools, it's important to have this method of communication. Because if you talk to a school today, most of them cannot contact their students or teachers, who've left.
Right.
So what we should insist in Trinidad and Tobago is that email address, as Patrick said, should follow you for your life. Not that you won't have any other commercial addresses a day, but if I wanted to contact you, we're having a school reunion, 48th school reunion, and you are listed as one of our students. Here's the invitation information, those kinds of things. And, I think students would love to have that method of communication with their schools. So we recommend it. It's free.
Definitely. You gave me some ideas. I didn't think about that because we actually, when students graduate, we trying to clean them out of the system. Because from our end, how I was looking at it, and maybe if you have two students with the same name over some period of time,
unique way to.
You have a unique identifier for them. But that's a better problem to address as to the one you're trying to solve.
In contacting people. Why didn't you tell me this? We just built a whole wing and we didn't know before. Okay.
Actually, in the early days, before Google offered all these things, we provided emails for schools. Oh, okay. So we had a mail server, but it's a lot of work. Now, managing the school stuff probably takes more of my time than managing the other stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of schools, they don't have the expertise.
The technical
and so they have to come with me.
So I made your job easy then.
I would love people like you.
Well, actually, what I could do is if schools do need additional technical help and they're looking on to this program, they could reach out to me. I will try to assist in whatever way I can. We could work together as we did for our school and for other schools. So we're looking to build that kind of support.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm on board with it because, I already haven't gone through the process.
Right.
I could save a lot of headache for someone who now getting into it,
Yeah.
Because at the time when Google had so much, they were swamped. It took a longer process for the to get the approval from Google and so forth. But now I think it's a 2-3 week period within you get very quick.
Right, and maybe you could mention quickly for them because it does require some interaction with us.
Yes.
So
to get information.
Well, not only so to verify that you are the responsible one, they would send you a record that I have to insert as a text record.
Yes, so I remember doing all that with you.
Right, but it's just a verification process, and it's easy. You just send it to me, I put it in, they verify, and then the rest is straightforward.
Yeah. And I totally endorse that. And as I said, it's difficult in a school environment to get funds for this sort of thing. And if this service is given for free. And one of the points I really love, when I went to register my school, it was already there on the list.
Oh, yeah.
And I also saw there were so many other schools that didn't take theirs as yet. So hopefully from this program, and that when we send it out there, that schools will grab the opportunity now, knowing all these benefits that they could derive from something that is offered for free.
And the thing is that this may be good or bad. We allow the school to choose their domain name.
Right.
So some schools choose a short name, some choose the full.
So like ours was too long, so I went with the abbreviated one.
Right. So, but as to whether we should have some kind of consistent way for schools, I don't know. That's again. Those are things for the ministry to decide. Yeah. So I didn't want to get involved in that. I said, look, you all decide what you want.
And I guess if at any point in time the ministry comes in and steps in and say it has to be something else, I guess the transfer shouldn't be
it shouldn't be difficult
to change that. Okay.
Yeah, just on the branding itself, what branding they want to identify the schools. And more importantly is your diaspora. The students who have left the country and are living in other countries, how do they contact the school?
That point. So is that, I know you all travel or you live abroad a lot. Is that like a standard in those schools in foreign away?
They have ways of contacting you.
That's what they do.
Because they're always asking for money.
Schools always need money.
Schools always need.
Actually, from my perspective, back in the day, and I still up to now look for solutions like for ICT labs and so on for schools that don't cost them money. So I look for, fanless systems that don't need servicing or hard drive less with solid state hard drives instead of it because it can't crash, So I've always been looking in that direction. That's why my interest in schools always prior that we don't have money and we always need money, And I mean, we're not going to get political or anything, but they really do need the support of their alumni and past students because some of the time the resources coming from the governmental avenues are very limited.
Yeah, so I think you need to use a combination of both things in order for success. People who, especially the diasporas, as I said, have ways of communicating with their alma mater. There are ways of sometimes sending things to the school, like they may be changing out their computers and they need to send it to somebody, otherwise they get it dumped. Hey, I have like my old school in Trinidad needs these copies, can I send it to them? Yeah, okay, cool. Who to contact?
So it's kind of like you have your own social network.
Yes.
Your own private social network.
Exactly.
Well, actually, you gave me a good idea. That's very well. Like with Google, we could use like the Google Groups feature. And you have your own, giving me some good ideas.
Because what has happened now is that people who have left and who tend to have their own class reunions and stuff, they have their own group.
Within
I have had
class of so and so.
Exactly.
So for instance, your school, for instance, you could form a subdomain. So what's the school domain?
EDNHS.
ednhs.edu.tt. So you could form alumni.ednhs.edu.tt and have emails under that.
And that's still under the free. Under the domain. It's a subdomain of the domain that you already have for free.
Right. So stuff like that. I mean, and again, it's something you could do because you control. Well, it depends on how you have it set up, but you control anything under ednhs.edu.tt. Anything you want to put there, mail.www. Anything you want to put, you could put yourself.
Nice. Okay. So I guess anything else about educational institutes you think is worth mentioning before we move on?
Well,
I think we
feel free to contact us and we will contact Shiva to help you.
We will work together.
What I would like to see is we use the word community support. The school administrators themselves, should have their own support group. Hey, I'm trying to register this domain and I'm running into this challenge. So you build up your own support group within yourself. More and more. I would love to see that happening in the community.
Nice.
Actually, at one time we did have a document explaining in detail how Google, how to go through the
setup.
Right, but I think it's outdated now. So, but it would be nice, and maybe you could do that. Just the outline steps.
We're just trying to get you involved.
No problem. It's been happening a lot these days, with all these meetings I've been having. A lot has been joined on it, but it's okay. I love doing these things. I love helping people.
So so TTNIC will still continue providing that support, but in a way we can.
Yes.
But once you get all the verifications, your domain gets activated within 4 hours. As a 2-week or 2-week with Google, whatever it is. Once you have the right documentation. So we will provide that fast turnaround, get you up and running. The issue is you may have a problem with WordPress. You're using WordPress as a tool and we don't necessarily want a WordPress question to come to us.
Right.
You want a WordPress question to go out to the group and say, how do I solve this?
So one problem we used to have as well, so we've had problems over the years, all right? So security is always a major problem.
When you have
100 schools with varying Joomla and WordPress and varying CMSs and different levels of expertise, hacking will be a problem. Now, we have to be careful about that. If somebody hacks your school and puts bad stuff on it, we will look bad. So we had that issue, and what we had to do is we developed some AI tools to prevent hackers from affecting you. Now, but we can't do it at the CMS level. We have to do it higher up because we can't do it for WordPress and then a separate one. So, but when we did that, problems went down by about 90%.
So you make the effort to put in additional security.
Yeah, because
Right,
we
so
want
you
to
have
protect
that,
schools
right.
and ourselves. And yeah, but
So one of the ways I got around the whole learning WordPress and all that, when we got the Google Suite, I used the Google Sites.
yeah,
I used the Google Sites, and I just pointed the .edu.tt to the Google Sites, and I had full control to change and do anything.
Which is why
which
we
is
had,
so easy, drag and drop.
right. Which is why we but some schools say, oh, we want something more sophisticated.
yeah.
So it's up to them. But
It's
yeah,
up to them.
but Google Sites will provide most of what you need.
You know, like we say in Trinidad, you have champagne taste and all these
Yeah.
pockets. Alright.
Not only that, too, Shiva. Some schools may start off with a system administrator or the guy who's putting all the stuff together, but he becomes very mobile after a while. And so he brought his vision of what tools he should use, and all the things that he put on the website. He loves Joomla, he loves WordPress, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then he disappears. And then
yeah,
they find a person who could come in and just run with it. So you have to be very particular. You may want the champagne,
Yeah.
but the more busy one you can afford to
The
maintain.
more busy one, the quicker maintenance side.
So those are the kinds of things that we could advise people on when they're thinking about it. Patrick and I were just talking in the car up here. We find
Any board meeting coming up.
any board
meeting. We still have issues with people, whether you're doing commercial, educational, you still represent your company for this contact information at a personal level.
Yes.
But people move around. So if you are the person getting the billing for the email, if you're running a commercial and your name is getting it, and you're not there,
and not passing on.
And not passing it on, then the bill is going to go to you. And if you don't pay your bills in time, just like any other service, subscription service, your domain gets
lapses and
cancels, and you could lose it.
Yes.
You could actually lose it. We do have people who look at domains because they can see when it's expiring. And they could say, right, if they don't pay in that time, and we check again and it's not available, it's gone. It's the register.
Right. Okay.
We try to prevent, as I said, domain spotting, but some things you just
and
can't
that's
stop.
a real thing with schools as well in terms of the
The
principal
support,
names
support,
who or
Yeah,
and it keeps changing.
Yeah, it
and,
keeps changing.
So I actually have to update my school now because my principal has.
Right. So what we
Right, so if
recommend,
you use principal,
So,
yeah, we use principal at whoever is the principal.
Right. So it's general.
Yeah. So billing at the school name.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and
Right.
in the billing, you put the group
Right.
of different
You put the
people.
groups of the people who get the
Who get the-
notifications
yeah,
when
yeah,
they get that.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
and then of course you could just forward that to their personal email address
Yes.
if you want.
If you want.
Right.
But then when that principal
Whichever it
goes,
is,
you
it's-
just forward it to a different email address.
Okay.
But that principal remains the same throughout.
Right. Okay. Good. No problem. So we spoke about schools, and we're going up the ladder where we actually get some money for you and speak about paying customers. But in terms of NGOs,
Actually, it's the other way. We
we
like schools at the top.
We go to that.
We
Schools
all
there.
educated
So
in schools.
So from schools now, NGOs. Any specials to NGOs or
Well, we provide charity.tt.
right?
So you could get a
A
domain
subdomain
under charity.tt. As long as you provide documentation. etc.
I guess that one is a little more tricky to verify and so on.
Yeah, that is something we. So this is where our TTNIC board comes in and advise us of what we should accept, etc. For that.
So if the answer, my next question was if they could get subdomains, and the answer that. So they can't get that subdomain.
But you have NGOs who prefer to have their branding and stuff.
Right. Oh, right. So that was my next question. What if just as we had benefits to school? What are the additional benefits for NGOs to have a branded?
It's going to be basically the same as addressing a local account, meaning like if you had something like ngo.tt or ngo.co.tt with the name of it's $100 TT for 3 years.
$100 TT for 3 years. Okay.
No brainer, I mean.
Oh yeah. That's as they say in the US, it's like a cup of coffee. The price of a cup of coffee.
Exactly. I told a guy the other day who was trying to, if you register this domain,
So is that why you have the white beard? You're Santa Claus, you're giving away things. You're giving
No,
away.
this is really about giving back, and we'll go through a list of the things that we invest as an organization back into Trinidad and Tobago in terms of charities and education systems, sponsoring students, all those kinds. We could walk through that a little bit if you wish. But NGOs, education institutions, we're happy if they use the Trinidad and Tobago branding. You know, we're supposed to be using that. The price is right. And I told this guy, you know, it's more than buying a newspaper every day. Sorry, it's less than buying a newspaper every day. If you look at it that way.
Yeah.
One other thing we provide, and I didn't mention, and we want to formalize this a little bit better, is for churches and temples, etc.
Right.
So, like, we've started with the Presbyterian Church. So we gave them Presbyterian.tt, so that now they could put, you know, the city.presbyterian.tt for that particular church. We would like to extend that to all.
So this is under the free offering.
Free. This is free.
Like the schools.
Right. Like
similar
schools,
to the schools.
Similar to
But
schools.
not hosting.
But not hosting.
No hosting. Just the domain
name.
The branding of the .tt.
But it's a little bit more tricky, you know, when you have religions with multiple
and boards that run the individual churches.
And who's the right organization to own the domain?
Right.
And you know, but yeah, we started that, and we're going to try to figure out the best way to manage that.
Oh, that will be great, because I mean, myself as a pundit,
exactly.
It will be nice to have the name of the Munder.tt.
Yeah, so that's basically it. But you would have to advise us what domain name you want as the main one. So like Presbyterian.tt was obvious, right?
Right.
Catholic.tt, but for the other religions, it's a little bit more complicated.
As to who would be the main contact for that whole Hindu.
And for the naming of the domain.
Yeah.
The naming of the domain.
Yeah, because, you know, as Patrick said, Presbyterian was easy. So you could have Susmacha Church, Presbyterian.tt. But the Presbyterian Church by itself, in this case, is a body that you can go talk to and design. But yeah, that's how we want to go.
Okay.
Maybe Rastafarian, maybe, Hindu, maybe Muslim. They have different
different
that we have to be
denominations within the
and we need to be aware of that in order to make it.
We don't
want to be making the decisions. Once somebody
I actually spent this week here with CXC on with many religious leaders and academias, formalizing a curriculum for religious education. So now that I have this information, it will help when I speak to these people how we could formalize it to across the board. Okay, good. Very, very welcomed initiative on your part again. Pioneers again, pioneering again.
And again, the idea would be, you want to find out about church hours or temple hours.
Right.
You go to the main, you go to Presbyterian.tt first.
Right.
And that would have all the links for all the churches. You click on one, you go to their website, blam, you get the information.
Okay. Right. So now we go down to businesses now. As I said in the beginning, Digital Guru, the brand, is shedding light on a digital world. And I have always, because I'm involved with homes, home security, parents, children, helping them with that. Also involved with schools and also business. Being a business owner for so many years, I'm in networks with businesses, so I've always been trying to help all those three niches. It was difficult for me to niche down and choose one because all of them need this kind of information, this kind of help. So that's why we dealt with schools, we dealt with the NGOs. Now we get down to business, right? Real businesses. In terms of most businesses now, they look at search engine optimization and getting ranked and found. And now Google's going the way of localizing searches and rankings, How does the .tt domain play its part in that scenario of the way things are going in terms of that type of search engine optimization?
Well, I know for instance with Google.tt, if you go to Google.tt, you get a different results, and if you go to Google.com, right?
Okay.
So yeah, there is some geographic-based information in there as well. But the content side of things, we are not involved in that. I mean, we just provide the domain names, how you use it, how you
so the domain name itself wouldn't really help anyway in the rankings. It's more the content of what is in the site that will help push
the domain name.
up.
Will identify certain things, but shiva.com.tc could be hosted anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't have to be here physically. So the domain name doesn't mean it's restricted in a particular area. It says it's restricted. It's related to Trinidad and Tobago, right? So that's the connection there. But
and people like Google would just be indexing your content from your website and collating and combining with other websites and help make decisions, like for AI bots and stuff like that. But really, it's driven by the content search, the trend analysis. Google Trends is a great topic.
Yes,
for that.
Trends,
And I read something the other day that said that you could for businesses, they could track email addresses, for example, as to what was emanating from Trinidad, for example. So if 50,000 people from Trinidad was looking at a certain product on Trinidad and on Amazon, a local company could then get access to that information and then bring that product into their store and so have it locally, rather than bringing product that they actually have no idea of it will be sold this week, this year. They have no idea, have no information. Now they could say, well, they went to Amazon, 50,000 people went to look at a table tennis board this week, this year. Well, maybe I need to bring some table tennis boards in the country. So you look at it as a reverse psychology on your customer.
Right. So our business viewers, you getting free tips here from Mr. Gobin. You get free tips there. Free advice.
I'm not advertising the companies. All I'm saying is there are tools that are available for all of these kinds of things.
This is real life.
So you have to make
this is smart business.
Yes, that's
you
exactly.
just don't have an idea and just go out there and hope it works.
Yes.
These are ways to verify what things are trending, what things are working, and you put them into practice.
Right.
And if you're a store, company operating in Trinidad, but you have branches in other islands, you do the same thing for them. What sells in Trinidad, not necessarily in Guyana or Grenada. You do it by geography.
So that's why I brought up that question, because I know the whole idea of the localizing of content and searches. So that's a very good tip that you shared there with our viewers and listeners.
Sure.
So in terms of challenges, because I think, from our conversation.
Let me just repeat for a minute, if you don't mind. You started with the commercial side. I remember that we have the what we call second level and third level domains for commercial. So we have it at the .tt. So if you wanted to register a domain called shiva.tt, you didn't want to have characters in between. You can register. It's a little bit more expensive, but people feel that for the business, I get faster access because I don't have to go down a chain.
Right.
I'm stopping at one aisle. So you can register with us, what we call a second level domain that gets you the .tt only. And there are several organizations in Trinidad that have gone that way. They have their brand name .tt.
Okay.
For the other commercial who don't feel they need that kind of thing and they want to have .co.tt or .org.tt or .name.tt or .pro.tt, all of those kinds of things. The other subdomain type things, you can get those names available. So you may want to go to get shiva.co.tt and somebody already has shiva.co.tt. Shiva is not an uncommon name as you think it is.
No, actually in the bank when I go, it's always a problem because there's so many Shiva Maharaj,
So if you wanted to you do shiva.pro.tt or .org.tt, whatever suits the business. So don't think that because our name is taken already, you have an option.
But definitely shivamaraj.com is taken So I'll be checking you guys.
Yeah.
my .tt.
But, what we see in the industry also is a lot of people still, putting their company name tt.com. And we say, why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
Why would you want to add the TT to the domain name, to your name, rather than just putting .tt?
Yeah.
So we'd love for companies to start thinking about using that .tt,
that branding.
So you leave your brand name intact for marketing purposes. The .tt is an add-on that identifies you quickly.
Yes.
And if you were in Barbados, you'd have a .bb, all pointing to maybe one or two websites, that kind of thing.
And in fact, the big companies like Intel, etc., they would register all of them.
For all the countries?
All these Intel.co.tt, Intel.com.tt, etc.
Right.
They just block everything.
Just block everything because they don't want anybody.
Right there, because they protect their branding.
Property.
Yeah. Okay. So the question I was going to ask in terms of when we were off air, when we were speaking, in terms of the lack of, let's say, interest, for the want of a better word, or I don't know why, but for some reason you were saying most of your registered most of the people who register .tt is from foreign, right? And very, very less from Trinidad. Any ideas why you think? How?
Well, I mean, of course, it's a limited population as well, right? It's a small population compared to the rest of the world, right? So that's one issue. But just the perception that .com will give them a bigger view. But one interesting fact as well is we also registration of allow registration of non-Latin character domains. So Chinese you could register Chinese characters .tt. I mean, when I say the Chinese characters .tt, and we have a lot of customers from China doing that.
Because so we have a lot of inter-business now.
Yeah, so because it's available, like if they try to do that in China, they wouldn't get it.
Yes, it's already taken or whatever, so they get it.
And they have certain combination of characters or numbers that are special.
That other registrants wouldn't allow what you
so we and it could be any non-Latin, not only it could be anything, not only Chinese.
In addition to that, Trinidad is way ahead of most of the other countries in terms of what we offer in terms of services from TTNIC. We allow you to register domains that are not local, that are not resident in Trinidad. Companies offer you register.
Right.
Some other countries in the Caribbean put restrictions on that. So a number of other things that we do just for the benefit of our customers to use more and more of the .tt domain. Because you specifically asked why that number is so high.
The number,
the number of...
So I'm thinking of, what kind of support system, just like we came up with something for the schools. If there's some kind of solution, we could probably implement.
Sorry, Patrick. We need the people to start thinking local.
Think local.
Act global.
It's like this buy local.
There's a word for it called act global, think local.
Global, think local.
So you can start doing these kinds of things. We always had an idea, maybe that was put into us by our parents. Foreign is better. It's a concept that we came up. But we can provide the same quality and even better service. As you just gave the example. Somebody like Google, big company, takes 2 or 3 weeks to make your domain available. We could do it within 2 to 4 hours. The other thing is that we run 24/7, 367 days.
No matter where we go. That's the thing. Once you have a phone, we good.
So we could activate
that support is there.
That support is there. So that's why we have a number of registrars who work for us globally because they know the quality of service, the turnaround that they get from us. Most other registries in the Caribbean shut down 4 o'clock on a Friday and then come back on until 8 o'clock on Monday. So that we try to make ourselves different in terms of quality of customer service in order to attract and maintain our customers. We have a simple philosophy. It's called the ARM principle: attract, retain, maintain.
yeah. So more free knowledge bites there. More free knowledge bites there.
There's a bill coming.
Not to me today, viewers. But in terms of, as you mentioned, all these international things, how does TTNIC handle domain disputes and trademark issues? How do you handle that?
Right. So we have there's a domain dispute. What's it called? WIPO has this UDRP. Forget what it stands for, but it's a domain dispute mechanism that we would follow. So if there's a dispute, we send it to them and they would handle it.
So for just to give like the non-technical listener or viewer an example, that would be like if somebody else say, well, I own that name kind of thing, or that trademark.
Yeah.
And that would be what a domain dispute would be.
Right, and so typically this will be outside the country, and so there's a lot of implications there. That's why we hand it over to WIPO. WIPO is the World Intellectual Property Organization. So they would manage that.
Yeah, so once your trademark is registered, protected,
Right.
and if you protect it globally, some people register their trademark, but only for the country that they're in. And that's one of the things that we ran into with the steel pan copyright and stuff like that. We had it registered, but not global. So people started producing steel pan.
Oh I saw that on a documentary actually.
So intellectual property is a big time issue for lots of organizations. The biggest example we've had is, say, McDonald's. Who owns that branding? Is it McDonald's, the burger people, or is it McDonald's farm? Old McDonald had a farm. Which one did you learn about first?
Who was first? He was all along before.
Yeah, who protected the
Who did the protection
who did the
first?
protection?
Right.
So
Old McDonald and his farm never protected his name
exactly.
there.
So we leave those to those world bodies.
Right.
Help us make it's listed on our site, terms, conditions, and dispute policy is there.
Oh,
so you know how we'll handle it.
So you know
it's not a guessing
you're
game.
protected there if it ever comes off.
And again, because we manually inspect the domain name before we approve it, we could get, you might want to slip in something, like I don't know, Shiva something dot .tt, right? And that rest of it you might not like. So we have to be careful of what is actually approved. Now you can use AI tools these days, but we want to be sure that
they use the legit ways of. All right, good. So in terms of looking ahead, I mean, so we discussed, we had challenges in the past. We still have challenges, right? But we come into some places, and even in this discussion, we're working past them, right? And coming up with solutions. In terms of what role, or how do you see the role of CCTLDs evolving in the next future 5-10 years from now? How do you see the role of these country domain registration?
Well, one thing that has been happening is the introduction of GTLDs, generic TLDs. So now, you can get like .google or you name it.
Like .guru, I actually have a
right. You have .guru. So those compete, of course, with CCTLDs, and so there's more, there's more and more interest in using like .guru or .google or whatever. As opposed to .tc.
It's a big rise of those, a lot more of those.
But of course, we will still represent Trinidad and Tobago, and if you wanna, as you say, be patriotic.
Be patriotic. And I think that was the underlying thing throughout all the discussions today. That whole branding of Trinidad and Tobago, and from the domain side of it, right? So definitely from my original thing, how do you know the Trini domain? The one with the .tt. The one with the .tt.
And again, we try to give back to the community. I mean, a lot of our time and effort is spent giving back to the community in various ways. We talked about edu.tt, but we have other initiatives that we give back.
Okay. In terms of the global domain name system, right? If you could change one thing about the global domain name system, what would it be? So that's a real technical one.
I mean,
if you had the input, I mean, because you have the expertise, you qualified, you have been in it so long, and if you did have the input to change something.
Yeah, well, the people who developed it, did a good job. Right. Especially with CCTLEs. I think the way, remember they started off in the US, so everything is more US centric. Like .com is because of the US. The UK, for instance, use .co, not .com. So it was, but that's because of the history behind it. It was started off in the US, and most of the initial domain names came based on what they felt was appropriate.
Well, that whole management of the domain infrastructure names and stuff has moved out now to ICANN, right?
Right.
Yeah, so ICANN is the one. But actually, we predate ICANN. ICANN is the body that manages domain names, and
so and that's coming from like a global.
Global.
It's moved out of the US. It's moved out of the US.
But since we predate them, we don't have to follow anything they tell us to do. I mean, I shouldn't say that way, but yeah, it's we existed before they started.
And we keep up to date with what these organizations are doing, whether it means attending their conferences or being on mailing lists. So we know what's going on generally in the world with terms of CCTLEs and stuff. They're now trying to band together different CCTLEs into one, so you have less people doing administration. All those are good plans that they have, but it's us to keep up to date as to what's available out there and what people are doing, how it fits our market, and how do we give our customers their requirement the best service to deliver what they want. Okay. That's what we're looking for.
So I think we covered a lot. we gave a lot of nice tips as well as a lot of technical side of things, to get a better understanding. And I think if those viewing really listen and they understand the importance of this patriotic thing of having your .tt, the top security, the quick general customer service that you all have wherever you are. You're there 24/7 to support, and especially going forward, the support groups, including myself, that we would form, and these kinds of things. It really is and then for the educational institutes especially, and then your new ideas of wanting to help the religious institutions as well. These all are part of your giving back. And you did mention, and I think we should mention before we close, some of those other ways you were mentioning of how you all give back to the community of Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, good. So there are several ways we do this, and we support a number of organizations who are looking sometimes for funding for a project that is most times IT related. So we would, whether it's donating funds or professional services time, we help students through students who require it and approach us for some funding for scholarships and stuff like that. I do want Patrick to talk a bit about lab.tt, which is another organization that we also manage. So anything that is related to IT and technology that we can assist with, and more focused on education, building out tertiary level students. And one of the things that we have so much people, so many good students coming out of our universities and stuff that good in data science and all the buzzword topics, these artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. We have that talent here. They can't find local jobs because we still believe foreign is better. So we send them away and they come back in. So, we do give back, and we have been promoting the idea of how the TTNIC operates with the other Caribbean islands. We want to help them also achieve to like the level of what we are one of the oldest now. I think Jamaica is
So you're not only pioneers in Trinidad, you're pioneers in the Caribbean.
No, we're trying to spread the knowledge that we've gained.
Okay.
So let's switch for a moment. And so, we do generally give back a lot of those things. And I think we have it listed on our website.
Also, to add the website to get the information, how to get in touch with you for those particular assistance.
So I'll have Patrick talk a little bit about lab.tt, which I think is very, very important.
So I mean, so I think in terms of domain name, so we covered edu.tt, and we covered a little bit mag.tt. So TT Mag, which is, you're familiar with that?
Yes.
It was developed, was formed to come up with policies, etc., for the .tt domain. In the early days, we made decisions about who should approving domain names, like we talk about porn, etc., right? But we wanted a multi-stakeholder view, and so we formed TT Mag, and so TTNIC basically funds them. So that's one we kind of give back, because they do stuff beyond what they were initially responsible for, right? And then there's lab.tt or TT Lab, right? So you see a trend, right?
Yeah.
So TT Lab is a research group. It's most of them are my students, but it includes diaspora. It includes students from other universities like UTT. And the idea is for them to do research in leading technologies, AI and cybersecurity, etc., and publish. And this gives them a head start when they go out to either local companies or abroad for university. And so TTNIC provides funding for attending conferences. In the past has provided scholarships for some of these students.
Oh yeah, you mentioned scholarships.
So we do the education stuff, we do the policy stuff, we do the research stuff, and we do give back to the community as well. As George mentioned, helping with schools. We've donated, what do you call these things? iPads, computers, etc., to schools in the
work
past.
closely with the TTCS for computer refurbishment.
Okay.
So some of the computers that you would have gotten, the spares or
during the COVID.
We would have helped fund some of that kind of spare parts and stuff.
Right.
Like
We don't have the computers. We don't have computers.
Yeah.
Everything is in the cloud.
The organization
to do it. Yeah. So we threw a lot of information there. The things
I
that
wish
we
I
like.
knew you guys back then, because I actually in that time designed a tablet, especially for the rural students. That some corporate
during COVID we had to do a lot of that.
So we threw a lot of websites at companies that we're involved with, and really at Patrick and myself started that we give back. So lab.tt is the one that we're doing with the students, and you're welcome to go look at it. Because one of the things is we try to assist the students who pass through lab.tt with getting jobs within the sector within Trinidad. Because we'd like.
So in lab.tt it will highlight the areas of research
and projects that our students have worked on.
Right.
And we're encouraging companies who have a need to come to lab.tt to get R&D help from these students.
Right.
Because they're qualified, they just don't have a job, they're in between jobs.
And we know how hard it is to get funding for these
things. And here
things.
you could get an experienced person to come help you out, and for a minimum cost of what a Big Four accounting firm would charge you.
I think those initiatives.
So that's lab.tt.
Yes.
We have mag.tt, which is a multi-stakeholder policy, and membership in that is free. Anybody who wants to be involved in this advising and policies towards the government, what should be the internet policy? Should we have an AI policy that manages Trinidad? By the way, we don't have one, which is unfortunate because a lot of small countries like ours already have an AI policy. Then the MAG has every year there's something called an Internet Governance Forum, IGF, worldwide body that has events all over the world. Trinidad has its own Internet Governance Forum where we try to point the direction of the Internet. That's called IGF.tt, and we have a couple of large events over the years. And then we have, nic.tt, which is assisting all of those organizations to make it happen. So that's where our investment, both in time, so resources, financial, we give back in that time.
So I guess I must give thanks to you because I have been on the panels of the IGF, of the IGF for 3 years consecutive.
Good.
Right?
So, that must mean we like you.
That means I've probably given something good, in terms of education and that sort of.
Correct,
in that time coming out of COVID and setting a way forward, I know I made my contributions there. And
Good,
so thank you for giving me that opportunity then. Right? So as we wrap up, in terms of what was the most creative and unusual domain that you have had to register? What can you think is the most craziest domain you ever done? Well, I know the porn will probably be high on the list, but
that's a tough one. I mean, we get all these. So sometimes with the Chinese characters, we have to. Sometimes we translate it.
Just to be safe, to show.
But we've never seen anything bad about them.
Okay. Yeah, so if somebody comes to register a Chinese domain with us, they put that they live in Samoa, Trinidad. That raises a flag.
A flag one time.
But in terms of funny names, I can't really.
What we're trying to head for is obviously, as we said, commercial and education.
Yes.
Is where we're going. We'd really like to address the population of Trinidad Tobago to try and get away from adding a TT at the end of your name and then putting .com. We really would love to see our people go, our companies, our organizations go with branding that protects the intellectual property, makes you easy to find on the internet. All those kinds of added advantages. And we have absolutely nothing against people who have already created websites and done their branding and stuff like that. And all we're asking you to register it to protect the name and then point to whatever site you want to go.
Okay, cool.
I have several companies in Trinidad who've done it that way.
Right.
Yeah, 20 years ago they went ahead and registered .com, and now they've registered all the possible spellings of their names locally. They don't use it. If they're doing an advertisement on the newspaper locally, they will put the local website
and
address.
And
it just points.
Wherever you want it to go.
But it does their branding. How would you feel if your company name, you registered it? You of course, forgive us for using Shiva, but it's a good example. Shiva, your name, Shiva Maharaj.
I'll forgive you if I get the Shiva.tt. It's forgivable.
It's forgivable. Shiva Maharaj and this here, this address is yours. But you didn't register it. Somebody else comes, register it, and points to your competitor.
Yes.
So Shiva Maharaj is now pointing.
Unethical things
that you could get. Now you can't stop the world from going killing, but you do the best that you can to protect your branding and image and all that kind of. How do you like a bank, for example, that didn't register a .tt? Somebody registers it, then they point to the competition. How do you come to us and ask for a dispute resolution?
One thing we didn't mention is security. So one thing we offer as well, and we hope more people, more registrants locally will take advantage of it, is something called DNSSEC. So you're familiar with SSL, so when you go to a website, you look for that padlock. You look for the S and then you look for the padlock, etc. So that protects you from websites. But DNS has some potential security flaws as well, and DNSSEC solves that. But it requires you to provide us with some additional information, which we would put in for your domain, and it will give you DNSSEC protection.
And that's across the board?
So we offer that for free.
Educational institutes and
so we offer that for free, but it requires some technical expertise on the other side, on the customer side.
Right.
To be able to set it up there and give us the keys, etc., which we will insert. Now, you were talking about domain names. One domain which I thought was forward-looking and it's something I had suggested way back in time. I don't know if they still use it, but UTT used to have U.TT.
U.TT, yes.
And,
They still do.
They still do. And
U.TT.
I had, so there are other companies who could do something similar. They just, because they have TT at the end of their name.
Because their name,
they could
the abbreviations or whatever have it.
Yeah, but anyway, that was.
So I think that definitely would have been on a catch you. So they should thank you again for that. Okay, good. So I really enjoyed this conversation. As I say, it has been an honor for me, to have gentlemen at your caliber in the field, and what really strikes me having this conversation, and even before, the humility, that you have, even with all these qualifications and doing all these things, and the community service. These are things that are very admirable in a personality. And I think you guys are really good role models, especially for all these students that you have, that you take under your in lab.tt.
Right.
They are very fortunate to have that kind of connection with you. I really see that. I really hope they appreciate the effort that you all are giving them, the opportunities that you are giving them that they wouldn't have if you didn't exist and weren't doing this.
Right.
If TTNIC didn't exist then.
Yeah.
Because as you said, TTNIC is like the grandfather of all these other major global conversations when it comes to the internet.
I hope you mean grandfather like Patrick and me.
And as I say, your beard and all this giving away gives me the sense of a Santa Claus kind of thing, Santa Claus vibe here with
Santa
how much you
giving. Santa Claus or Papa Claus.
No problem. Whichever way you want to look at it, still helping the community and keeping everybody safe.
Always about giving back. Whatever.
So thank you all very much, and I look forward to having you all again on the show, and as well as hearing more about the other projects that you all are involved in on other levels. Because that's what we are here for. As we said, Digital Guru, shedding light on the digital world. And there are so many aspects of the digital world that people really not even aware of, and it can have such a big impact on their daily lives. And so this is what I just try to make people know what is out there and be more informed.
Sure.
You definitely have to be more informed, and this is the opportunity that I'm trying to build back. So thank you all very much for being on the program.
And I want to compliment you for doing this. I mean, we need more people like you doing, with these initiatives, helping students, especially with technology.
Educating the public.
Educating the public.
That's a great initiative.
When people ask me what my profession, I just say educator, because it's across the board. It's on so many levels.
But I mean, you focus on the kids,
education is the underlying.
Yeah,
thing.
we also need it for the more senior people.
The senior people. I mean, across the board, even as a pundit and all that, it's education. It's educating people. It's in my soul. It's in my heart. Actually, for my interview for teaching, they asked Sam, why should we hire you? What for teaching? I said, it's genetic. My parents were teachers. Teaching is in me. It's in my blood, So thank you. I'm very happy that you recognize the effort that I'm trying to do. And as I say, I look forward to working with you all in the future, right? And bringing in more of the people in your networks too that will have similar projects as well.
Yeah.
And let's spread the information. Let's spread the All right, so thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Looking forward to plenty more.
Yeah.
All right. Until our next Digital Guru episode, this is Guru Shiva Janak Maharaj signing off.